Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about one of the things that annoys me a lot in this industry, and it annoys me because I see other YouTubers make these claims, and what you guys notice is that the majority of the guys who are older lifters who have YouTube channels tend to be very, very weak, and they tend to make excuses. And I'm not saying that being 40 plus doesn't matter. I'm not saying it doesn't impact your training response. I'm not saying that you're going to have the same gains potential that you did at 25, because we know that you don't. That's not what I'm saying. And yes, I have to take special care with a lot of things personally to continue to do what I do in my 40s and to continue to make gains and progress, because I'm still hitting PRs this year. I'm going to hit more PRs this year. I'll hit PRs next year. But yes, there is a lot of care that goes into it. But the idea itself that you cannot lift a certain amount of weight, or that you can't max out, or you can't gain strength on your 1 rep max on lifts at a certain age is absolutely ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. Because I've watched the opposite happen. Some people know who my aunt is. I'm not going to get into all that. But her and I are very, very close. And she didn't start training until her 50s. And she competes in her late 60s in powerlifting. And compared to the average woman at a gym at 68, she destroys them in terms of her lifts. Right? She's not over here just doing a deadlift with 135 pounds. I know other lifters out there who are just ludicrously strong over 40 and they're not hurt. Chris Duffin comes to mind. I mean, I get people who come here and say, oh, wow, it's phenomenal what you're doing at your age. I'm like, I appreciate that, guys. I do. But believe me, there are other guys out there who are killing it more than I am. They exist. I mean, another one that comes in my comments, Jason Robson, all the time comes in. I think I always forget his channel name because he changes it from time to time. I think it's Unbreakable Strength these days. Same thing, he and I are pretty close to similar levels of strength. We're in the same age bracket. He understands these things. But guys, there is no reason we cannot continue to do this. Does this mean that we can be haphazard? No. I'll try to get to a 600-pound squat this year, and I will get to a 600-pound squat this year. You guys saw me deadlift 625 off of a deficit recently. Close gripping 350 pounds. Trying to get to 375 this year. Maybe I'll break 405. Not this year. Maybe I'll get that deadlift to 700. We reach. Because here's the thing. When you stagnate, you regress. When you stagnate, when you decide at anything in life that I'm done growing, I'm done progressing, well, that's it. And it's a downward spiral from there. It's a downward spiral from there. Because you embrace mediocrity, you embrace not moving forward. And in the long term, that's what does us in as people, right? That's one of the biggest negatives to aging. Not just the physical aspects, the psychological aspects where you say, well, I've worked hard and I'm going to do this life. Like when you start talking about you're going to retire. Retirement kills people. Okay, retirement kills people. Because unless you have something to drive you forward and keep you productive and keep you active, and often case that is what happens, people don't. It ends up causing a massive decline because their total activity goes down, their productivity goes down, their sense of value and worth goes down. Retirement's a killer. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that because that could be a whole social and political argument itself. But yes, when you stop working and being productive, it kills you. It's the same when we get in the gym. And a lot of people will say things like, well, Jason, we can still train. We're just not lifting heavy. You really think that's the same thing? You really think that's the same thing? Because I know people who are like, well, I'll keep training and I'll just do really high reps. I go, what happens to your bone density? What happens to your bone density when you do that? When you say, I'm no longer going to push for more and get under heavy weight, you just do reps. Well, you don't get the same bone mineral benefits. What's one of the things that we know, one of the biggest problems with aging? Bone density. Heavy lifting protects bone density. And by heavy, I don't mean doing sets of 15 on your squats. I mean putting a real weight on you, a weight that's challenging for you. Where we get our bone density from. This is when you regress. That is when you lose ground. That's when you go into decline. When we say, I can no longer get stronger. When you accept mediocrity, you program yourself for mediocrity. Okay? And before people jump in and say, well, you worried about getting hurt from all that heavy lifting? I see friends and family of mine that I've known my whole life. I see people I went to high school with. No, I'm afraid of being hurt like they are. That's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of being hurt like the people who don't lift heavy. Not lifting heavy is a risk of injury. And I'm not saying there's not a risk to what we do. But it's a lower risk than the opposite. It's the lower risk than not doing it. These people get hurt getting out of bed. These are the people who jump up out of bed too fast in the morning and have an injury that requires surgery. I know guys who have had hip surgeries, knee replacements, shoulders, all this stuff. Guys I knew back in the day, they're hurt, they're beat up, they're sick. And it's not good enough to just exercise. Because we come back over to that point of we need metrics of performance. We need quantifiable metrics of performance. And the truth is, 1 rep maxes are the safest way to quantify that on big lifts. That's the safest way to quantify and measure your progress. Because they're not actually dangerous. That's another lie that we've been told, that maxing itself is dangerous when done correctly. No, it's not. Maxing when done correctly is less dangerous than your car ride to the gym. You are more likely to get hurt going to a gym or to the grocery store or to work or anything else than you are by doing a correct max. Again, we're not saying it doesn't happen in terms of relative risk. That's a quantifiable metric. And when we stop progressing, we not only stagnate, we regress. And believe me, if you look around, I'm not the only guy out there doing it. And I know a lot of the guys out there who are like, they envision it and they're like, oh man, you're like my dad's age. You're older than my dad. He can't do this stuff. Well, I don't want you to go insulting your father or anything, but that's because he chose not to. He made a conscious choice not to be strong and powerful. It's a decision he made every morning for 30 years. Saying, I'm not going to start today. That's a conscious choice. But there's a lot of other guys out there, and we're seeing more and more masters lifters and athletes who are saying, look, I can do this at this age. You just have to be smart about it. We have to be smart about it. We have to build things up gradually. We have to build connective tissue. We've got to build all of our mobilities. We have to build everything the right way. It's a lot of what I do as a coach with a lot of my lifters. Alright guys, so that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.